Namaste and in luck catch, and welcome to this episode of One World in a New World. And as always, please do subscribe and share below. It's how we gain strength and traction with your help as we talk about these things that are insightful to pretty much anyone who's had weird shit happen in their lives and wants to know more about it, right? And also, consider visiting Planetary Citizens and getting our new book, Planetary Citizens, Awakening the Heart of Humanity. Great book. You'll love it. So thanks so much. This week's guest is Malik McCullers. He is the Love King. Man, he goes by it, and I got to tell you, he lives it too. We're going to find out more. He's got a lot of background in media and production and music, and he's just a fascinating guy. We'll talk to him in just a moment. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Explore the thoughtless. Embark on a life-changing journey of self-discovery. Embrace harmony with self, with others, with Earth. One world in a new world. Zen Benefiel skillfully ignites conversations, guiding guests to reveal personal journeys and perspectives. Listeners are inspired to seek knowledge and find wisdom in their own lives. Join this transformative journey as we navigate the depth of human experience.
Malik, it is so great to have you here, man. I've been looking forward to this conversation since we initially connected, a couple of soul brothers that, brothers from mother, right? Thanks for being here.
I'm grateful to be here, man. Thank you for having me, Zen. Thank you so much, man. The
Oh,
honor is definitely mine. I'm so grateful.
cool. Hey, I'm curious, where'd the Love King come from?
Love King came from me actually, coming into consciousness of us all being what most people would term as being God. So it was God King Malik at first because Malik really means, king. It really it means king. So but a lot of people weren't adapted to the idea of, you know, the God thing being, some people
Or
are.
even the etymology of names, right? I mean, that's how often, that's the other national deficit, right? Critical thinking, right? Curiosity. How often do we research what our own names actually mean,
Indeed, indeed. So
let alone others?
yes, a lot. Well, that's the reason I did. I did my research and then I named my children names that would have some kind of authority, so they would have to live up to it. But what it means is simply when
Did the same thing with my son. Yeah.
I started having challenges about just loving people, but talking to them and they're saying, why you say you God, man? But I'm giving everyone the same credit because I feel like we're all in the one vibrational level of things. We're just on different levels. But I
Oh,
changed.
that's heavy, man. That's heavy. Let's hold off on that before we go there because we're going to dive into that and
Okay.
bring everybody along. But
Okay.
first, though, I mean, having that understanding and where you are now, we talk about these inner and outer conversations that most of us are bereft of the inner ones and talking to other people because we've been kind of pushed away because of that. Because most people don't have a direct experience of what we're talking about. So it's really hard for them to comprehend. So we, come off as being, kind of weird, crazy. They think we're insane sometimes. Really
Mhm.
not the case. They just haven't opened up their own experience to have something that we've experienced. So in that process, though, as you were younger, what were the inklings that you got of this greater relationship that you have with creation?
Um, Wow, my ability to see things before the fact and imaginary friends. I had an incident when I got electrocuted when I was 4 years old, and it kind of woke up something in me. After that, I started
What a
having.
charge, huh?
Yeah, indeed, and it was
Flip the switch in a
it,
big
it
way.
it totally did, and I never. It was years later that I realized that it was even that. After I started having these weird, vivid dreams, these lucid dreams, and going in and out of the astro, thinking that they were dreams, but it was just a replay of what I had experienced. But I wasn't seeing me per se until I until I kind of awoke, until I got out of
Mm.
religion, got out of, it's when I awakened and I started being able to feel and hear the channels clearly. But the imaginary friends was where it kind of started.
That's really cool. And I think a lot of kids have them and are often um, diminished by their parents for doing so. Some of them are encouraging,
Hmm.
right? I think the in the more recent years and decades and generations, they're a bit more encouraging because there's a little more knowledge about, yeah, there's more out there.
You're absolutely
There's
right
more
about
openness to
that.
it.
You're totally right. In the community, especially no offense, and it's not a race or anything like that, because I'm not into that. But in our culture, everything is like, hey, don't you say nothing about that. You better keep that to yourself. Or some things they just don't want that business in the street, so they say. But it is what it
Right.
is, man. But it's kept, and that's been part of the.
Well, and traditionally, this was what and how we were treated. We were ostracized,
Mhm.
burned,
Mhm.
crucified, all of those things for speaking truth, right?
Indeed.
When the Vedas 15,000 years ago in Sanskrit, and who knows how long it took for it to get into Sanskrit, this awareness anyway,
Mhm.
that we're all divine threads incarnate, capable of God consciousness, right?
Indeed.
That doesn't mean that we are the ultimate creator above all else. It means that we're part of it,
Indeed. And
intimately part
int-
of the co-creation of
indeed.
our world.
Indeed. Indeed. I agree wholeheartedly. It's like source is one with us. We're one with source in the
Yeah.
physical form, just having an experience. And
Now, when you were experiencing the imaginary friends
yeah.
and the precognitive dreams and things like that, did you notice that the opportunity in that process for you to either adjust or influence the actual event when it occurred?
Well, I had
Was
to
it just something that just to make you aware of, okay, this is going to happen?
well, kind of both. I was okay. I had to accept because me being an only child, I spent a lot of time by myself, and my mother was very clear about, how things were. She spent a lot of time having to take care of things.
Moms are like that, aren't they?
Indeed, they are, especially the ones who know that they're dealing with the chosen, or maybe don't. They just know that the mission is to do what they do. Because she told me she didn't know how to raise a son. She just followed this intuition within her, and she knew that her dad was a good person. So, and my father was in and out. He stayed there for a good period. He showed me the love that I needed for the first 8 to 13 years of my life before they separated. Because I
Hmm.
got him here with me now. So I take care of him. So that part, but yeah, it was just the things that really, really took place that made me just realize, yeah, this is a part of me. I'm going to have to utilize it. And I help people with it because I would have these things that wouldn't just include me, it would include people around me, especially the elders. I would talk to the elders, and my grandmother was one.
As a young kid, you talk to the elders and
Yeah,
they would listen? Wow,
yeah.
that's rare. Well,
Well,
maybe not
well,
because,
I'm 68. I'm born in 68. So, they were in the process of I'm a Generation X. You know how it was. They raised us a certain way, but the elders, I'm grateful for mine. They poured a lot into me. They poured
Mhm.
a lot into me. The elder mothers, especially my grandmothers, my aunties.
Well, and that period of time too was revolutionary as far as addressing the outer world, but the wars
Mhm.
or the war, and the inner world too,
Indeed.
right?
Every,
This is when this
every
boon of awareness and consciousness started happening because people sought a different way. They wanted war no more.
Indeed.
They
And
saw
with
the
those words,
ridiculousness of
go
it.
away. Yeah, it is, man. But I'm very grateful that I channel it now. I understand now what it is. But then it was truly, the fact of me coming to terms with, and my mother made it clear too. She was like, "You're different, dude. Through the channel in which I came. My mother had a couple of children that didn't make it. I was
Mm.
a chosen child to her because it's just my life and all these different experiences, man. It's just I have confirmation. I have my receipts are my children because they're walking in the spiritual perspective of how I would have wanted to be freely. But since I see all of their abilities, all of them are, empaths, all of them are, all of them have these extra abilities for higher vibration. And I've tapped
Well,
into, I
it's
have
because you
a,
nurtured it, right? You had the experience before as a child, you knew what it was like not having that complete freedom and nourishment that was necessary to
And
develop your own gifts, and yet realizing kind of this is where that elder thing comes in, right? As you get older, you realize, we've got at least five relationships: body, mind, spirit, planet, cosmos,
mhm.
right? All different layers
Mhm.
of relationships that are
Within,
incarnate,
indeed.
right? It's that consciousness, that cosmic consciousness that we all are, that's incarnate, that we're unaware of yet, right?
Yeah.
And you and I have happened to, hopped on that path young to like, oh, there's something more here, and this is really cool, and I'm having a lot of fun because it brings joy and excitement, right?
Mhm.
That awe and the connection and all of
Does.
these things. Yeah, it's really strange sometimes,
Yeah.
bizarre,
Yeah.
the synchronicities and the events.
The challenging ones are the most intriguing. And the older I've got, or the more wisdom that I've received, is I want to smoke now. I want to smoke because it raises my vibration. Whatever it is I'm supposed to get, I'm open, so open for it, because it creates the love that I've tapped into, the love that I overstand now.
Now, this is the point that I want to draw out right here. As a child, did you also experience that fearlessness? We're told perfect love, in perfect love, there is no fear.
Yeah, I did.
This fearlessness of being, like a child,
Mhm.
right? How did that translate into you sharing it with your kids and others that were looking for a way in? Well, a lot of people are looking for a way out, but the answer to that is the way in.
Indeed, indeed. Well, I have to give credit to, my beautiful goddess empress mother, who actually told me at 4 years old that I could do anything I set my mind to. And that was the reason I got electrocuted, to be honest, because I was messing with
I'm
my
going to test this. All right.
so hey, that's truly what it was, but it was the best experience ever for me, in the sense of I always knew that that was it is, because only God I knew was my mother and my father. Because early on, it was no religion until I was 8, when I had to be sent to the South to stay just for a year with my grandparents, for my parents to get some things together.
Mhm.
So all I saw was God is love. That's what we'll get back to that. Love is where I got that. So since I have an issue with God, everyone can respond to love, and can relate to love. Even if you can't relate to God, you might not believe in God, so to say, but love, it doesn't matter if you believe it or not. That energy force is coming through. So I put it on the front part of my energy, so that you'll know that my first energy is love. Before
Mhm.
anything, that's what I'm projecting, love, and I've been confirmed that that's what I'm supposed to do.
Well, I think that's what we're all supposed to do. I think our core desire, mission, purpose, being God conscious, is simply to love and be loved.
Indeed. Simple as that, man.
It
Simple.
really is.
100%.
Yeah, we build up all these facades around it thinking, or excusing ourselves or playing the imposter syndrome or, all these kind of low level energy
Right.
activities. And yet most of us are so frustrated in those that we don't know what to do. How would you agree?
Oh, yeah, that's pretty much what I come in contact with when I'm speaking with a large majority of people.
How do you find the ways to introduce the opportunity to have a conversation that elevates with others?
Well, I
This
just
is one of the things that we're really struggling with now, right? How do you initiate these conversations with people?
well, to be totally honest with you, I quick note, because I came late into religion, I wanted to know. So I went through Christianity. It didn't fit
Hmm.
for me. Went through Al Islam. It fit a little better, but I got over it after studying Hinduism, Judaism, and Buddhism. I kind of like woke up on my 40th birthday, literally couldn't do another bowing prayer, but woke up into a state of where I know that all I have to do is confess my gratitude and show this all this power of these relationships and these religions that were telling me love, love, love is what we're focused on, but we beefing with each other in the relationship. In the
Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
yeah, so I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna focus on the love, and I got to that part. I woke up, and that's what I do. I come authentic. I'm authentic, and I'm unapologetically, loving, and it's both ways because love heals, love hurts, love uh unalive.
Authenticity and honesty with others,
Yeah,
transparency.
indeed. And
Um,
now they'll feel the energy. If I'm supposed to speak to them, so that's the reason I don't necessarily initiate conversation. I just show up, and if it's what it's supposed to be, it'll
I
align.
think Redfield wrote about that, Celestine Prophecy. I think it was a third insight, right? That they were teaching others how to be still and only speak when it finally welled up inside of you enough that you couldn't hold it back anymore.
Learn that, and it's been helpful because I learned it amongst a house of children that I'm having to be an influence and an inspiration
Hmm.
from a more positive than
And
negative.
12 kids, man, wow, what an influencer, right?
I still have 10
Um,
with me, so I'm grateful that they even love and trust me because that's what we got. We got genuine love over here. That's the reason that
and you got a production crew.
oh yeah, the whole thing. We offer everything. So I'm grateful. We're here to share love and assist people to share and show their ability to love. Because it's a lot of us as elders, especially don't want to deal with this computer stuff. But we need our message out right now. It is to me, it's like the conscious ones that are 40 and up, maybe even 35 up, but I'm gonna give it 40 and up, need to be somewhere expressing the energy of your experiences because it's going to all resort back to the fact that you had to come to terms with love, you had to submit to the fact of forgiveness, you had to be grateful, and it's going to just show that yeah, no matter what through your life you're going to
Well,
have.
all of I totally agree, and it is ubiquitous in all these programs that are basically about taking triumph to, or taking tragedy to triumph,
Mhm,
right? And going through this whole process of learning self-love,
mhm,
first of all,
mhm,
which we're so resistant to because we think it's hedonistic and or some such thing. And yet there's this longing for connection. And in this, I would say within the last 10 years anyway, all of these programs that are dealing with the traumatized people, whether it's in the States or around the globe, that there's this, especially with COVID, right? There was a globe full of traumatized people. It's like, oh no, we can't do that anymore. Whoa. So that was a big jolt, but it also opened up a big door too, that got people or allowed people to look inward, self-examine, and determine what their level of love for themselves were. And then take that and through all of these programs, I've noticed in several, because I visit a few here and there just to see what's going on. And there's this overarching, yeah, it's okay. Forgive yourself and feel that love that's there. Share it.
mhm.
And it's not all that easy to do because we're, what, 70,000 thoughts a day, and probably two-thirds, three-quarters of them are self-deprecating.
Indeed, it takes consistent it takes you to be responsible for you as creation first and being responsible and committed to the fact that you know that you are one with the source and the power that you have is
Mhm.
very much coming from your own thought process and everything that you accumulate in that vibrational escrow process. It's like, okay, high or low, whatever you line up to in that specific present now is what you're going to get because we don't get what we want, we get what we are. Like it's exactly, and I've had
Get what we are, where we're at, and what we need.
all that, and it doesn't matter what you want. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You can
Yeah.
stream that all
Well,
day.
the
So
want is for us, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, we just want what's truth, what's best for us, our growth, and those around us. So there is an intent, um, but not necessarily a want.
Thank you so much, because I wanted to say this. I agree wholeheartedly, but and not in opposition at all to want. I don't do want anymore, because as the I am, you can't, commit and confirm and even know that you are the I am with
Well,
a
you can't claim abundance and then in the second,
thought,
or second thought deny it,
and
right?
when I want something. So I'm in the state of even the desire. I've had to inside myself, I've taken desire out of my vernacular as well, because the thing is, like, desire is the biggest one. If I keep acting or saying these words, I'm activating the energy that goes with the perfect aligning for me.
Absolutely, you're spell
So
casting.
indeed. So I decide, that I'm just gonna consistently stay in the vibration of, you know, consciousness, present, now. It doesn't matter. I can't do anything about yesterday because it no longer exists. It is a wrap. It is only a memory. You can only bring back the thought of it,
Right.
and that it tomorrow, there's no promise for
Yeah,
tomorrow.
dust them off, move on.
Indeed. So I feel that the thing we need to do is just vibrate at the highest perspective. Stay in the mirror and check yourself. I'm projecting out everything. I'm so grateful that you showed up, because it gives me confirmation of what I'm projecting out. Because you are the other part of me, brother. You know that how I see it. We're projecting my own experience. The only thing that's happening in my experience is the things that I created. Every person that comes in is a form of me. Everything that I don't like, it's me. It's me. That's
Yeah.
me.
The
Not
uniqueness is always unique, right, to the individual. And yet the process and the result is always the same of reaching that place of undeniable love and
undeniable.
service.
Indeed, man. Once you get to that, it's we're all good.
Oh,
So
it's exciting. It's fun. Your life is filled with these awe-inspiring events that you have innocently, maybe even naively thought about being possible.
indeed, man. And when you're around pure energy like children, that is elevated. That is what's helped my situation. It's elevated. It's given
Sure.
so much love into this environment that is gives more of those experiences.
Absolutely. Now, speaking to your kids, how do you translate this wisdom into the language that can be heard?
I do. I'm an action oriented being.
Okay.
Walk the walk. I don't do something that I
Well, yeah,
don't.
words are cheap. Kids recognize the difference between hearing the words and watching behavior.
Listen, it's not a world of do what I say, not what I do anymore. That's the world we grew up in. They like to
Yeah.
hear what you're talking about. I'm gonna do exactly what I want to do, especially since you told me not to. That was the attitude in my mind then. That was
Well,
my
yeah,
attitude
that's us
then.
growing up, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can't do that. Well, watch.
Yeah. Watch. That's it. You're gonna do it in front of me and then tell me don't do it because what? You know what I'm saying? Well, don't do it in front of me then. But I realized that wouldn't work in the energy that I co-created with, because I co-created with another fire sign, and we are up there. Like we generate really high
Sparky.
vibrational energy. Listen, I'm telling you, we're family now, so
Oh,
the
yeah.
children are online with you. They already tapped into the network and everything, and they're already assisting things in the background to be able to assist the whole collective. You know what I'm saying? So, because I appreciated you recognizing the love that is, it has to be shared. It has to be shared from an individual and a collective perspective. And I know that I have a clan over here, bro. Like the team, I have 8 boys, 4 girls. Still got 6 boys with me, and the 4 queens. I really
Well, it
have
was one of your daughters that found me. I said, hey,
indeed,
Dad,
indeed.
you might want to look at this guy, right?
No doubt. And she put me up because she knows my vibe. She knows my vibe. She was like literally when I sent the message and she said, Dad, because I got her, that's my personal assistant. I got her following up because I get busy with my dad and stuff like that, and just in
Sure.
general. So she's like, Dad, you got to check this. You got to. She went through because you see what I post. I post what we are. Like this is my energy. And then I know now the more authentic I am bringing them to the table. That's why I got a live with my daughter. I got a live with each of my sons, like coming up, but 2 of them already are up. We're doing lives each day. We're figuring out the exact day, but my daughter and I, we do it on Mondays. Every Monday, I think we're going to be picking between the times of 8 something and 12 something, but the time is going to equal up to an 8. That's what we've been doing. Everything's equaling up to an 8 so we can kind of get in the infinite flow of things and
Well,
create the
that's weird.
vibrational wealth and everything. So, it's just the process because we're going
I
through
was
that.
told in my early 30s, about the time I was telling you that I had the experience with Jesus, that 8 is my power number. And of
Wow.
course, when I had that, I'm thinking, okay, infinity, Mobius strip, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, cool. Um, and yet there's that power of numbers, right? The undeniable, whether it's numerology or just,
Man,
the understanding that there is an innate power in math and numbers.
the most, man, hey, I study my chart. I read regardless of anybody's belief or anything. It's no disrespect to anyone's, but I'm gonna tell you that those modalities and numbers are what make up the chemistry of this collective field of energy. To me, once I've tapped in and
Mhm.
how I overstand numbers, and nothing about numbers lie. Nothing about numbers lie.
Well, unless we get the equations wrong. And then
Yeah, yeah, I feel you on that. But if we're proper, they come together exactly how they're supposed to, with in reference to the spirit side of things. Now, I
yeah,
know a question
agreed.
like you were saying that
From
that
my
part,
experience anyway.
yeah, mine too. So we just confirming. It's just confirmation, you know.
Yes, we do.
Mhm.
And we just want to share. That's the whole thing about it. Now, speaking of the sharing, in the development of your capacity to share this and the production and your background and how you got to LA to begin with and the I believe that was the music industry that drew you there. How did how do you translate this and how do you maybe even better, how do you see it being translated by others to the public in the various genre of
Well,
music?
now we're picking up the energy. All creators have been called to all chosen ones have been called to work. So you're seeing all over the place all forms of energy that is positive and loving. And I feel like my place in it when I even came out to California was for something totally different. It was for doing the background music and background for a motion picture that was coming out, just doing the engineering part. And in the process, I got to meet a lot of people that were in the music industry, and I was already in the music industry pretty much in Atlanta because of a network that we had and everything. But when I came to California, some things happened, and that was a spiritual thing because I had a daughter out here that I had never had anything to do with because of her mother, not wanting me to have a relationship with that kind of thing. And in my
Yeah,
heart,
been there, done that.
yeah, we've got these. Hey, the chosen ones have to go through something to be able to share. How do you get the love after that? How do you
Well,
come?
yeah, and you aren't able to do that without having the direct experience of it and the challenges that come along with it for you to grow.
Indeed, man. So I just exchanged energies with a lot of high vibrational people that I needed access to, and they needed access to me, but they needed access to me from the perspective of how I'm,
You're the
structuring.
tool, man.
I didn't realize it, man. I didn't realize it. I'm just being what I was called to do. I'm a father. I love the idea of, being respected and trusted by my children, not a ruler like that. My children are my source of friendship to this planet, the love energy that I know I'm supposed to continue on. Is the only reason I know that I've got so much is because my mother instilled it, but my children assisted to continue it and have extended it to the point where it keeps me learning more. It keeps me open. It keeps me receiving more because I have to stay out of the way. I
Mhm.
stay in the mirror, bro. Like that's one of the things that I would
Well,
suggest.
any leaders, that's a servant leader, right? You get out of your own way, you look at what your team or family or whatever group you're with, you ask yourself, okay, how can I serve here? What's needed?
Indeed,
What
indeed.
what can I do with my skill set to make this, I don't want to say make, to help this work in more harmony?
Indeed, indeed. Well,
right? Because the happy people get more work done with less supervision. Well, why do they do that? Because they're happy, they're in harmony, everybody's working together, systems flow that way. So when you
indeed,
get bottlenecks, you got to start addressing usually behaviors,
indeed.
right? And those
I think,
behaviors stem from a thought
indeed, man.
or
It just
perception.
all that energy jumps off and it's serious. I learned that I'm grateful to have had the experience early because I got children and I had to adjust my authority process, how I channel authority, how I was okay. At first, I'm like, you better, you gotta.
You go from questioning to channeling, right?
Indeed, indeed, that is the best way to put it. And once you start channeling and receiving, when you awaken and start and receive the channels, it's like then you can move off your intuition. Because I have my intuition, I have my imagination, and then I don't believe anything. I know what I know. I know that all is well, and that's all I need to know. And I
And
know.
what's the difference between, speaking of this, all right, so we're kind of in the analysis stage, right?
Mhm.
How do you know, right? What's the sensation? What are the objective, um, I guess, sensations, feelings? Because it's not just thinking, although that's part of it.
Yeah, no, it's
How
not.
how do you experience that, and what do you find similar with others in doing so?
Well, it's all intuition for me. It's all in my intuition that I know and feel what I feel and what I, trust to know or believe. Like, okay, because I believed a lot of things in my life, and I've trusted religion. I really did. I was serious.
I'm
When I was
hip.
a Christian, come on, man, I was
Well, you
serious.
have to. You got to believe in something or you fall for anything. And when you believe in something, you give it 100% till you find out, oops.
100,000%. And I've been
Yeah.
because I'm the person that wanted to be, you know, right about it. I'm really studying, but I studied to the point where I couldn't put the square in the round hole no more, and it just never lined up to where if
Well, you
it's
know how you do that. You shave off the edges.
yeah, yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. Shaving off the edges is a really serious process in the spirit realm,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So yeah, but I just know that the objective is to lead with the energy of love and be forgiving. You know what I'm saying? Because everything I'm looking at is me. And that's literal because listen, bro, everything I'm looking at when I'm my children, they're all around me all the time. So I have to be mindful how I'm carrying myself because I know I'm projecting the energy off onto them, which is mine, and they could potentially, and I see it. I see the
Sure.
issues or the challenges in me in them. So I saw it early, so I'm like, oh, let me pull back and make sure I give them the freedom to be because my mother did give me freedom to be considering the circumstances. She gave me
Right.
freedom to think because she told me I could do anything I set my mind to. She instilled that first, so anything that came after that was okay, whatever. You feel me? Because now I believe what I think I believe in because most of the things that I'm thinking are happening. And then when I got jolted and my imaginary friends were helping me through things and I could get answers for things outside of the norm, yeah, man, it is what it is. And there's only a few people in my life even know that. But the people that know. You know what I'm saying? They know because we all had some things that we
Right.
had to put to the
Well,
side.
you and I both know. It's like, I'm 67, you're 58. It took us how long to find each
57,
other?
57.
57. Okay,
I
so
just
we're
turned 57. We're one, you're magical number one ahead of me.
so, and yet in that, we've realized, the loneliness of the path for some time because it's one that must be trod alone. And that doesn't mean that there's
It
not
still,
help,
yeah,
but you got to learn how to ask questions.
indeed, it still gets there. Like I have not, I have a house full of children. I have a house full of loved ones that love me, but I still have a spirit of like sometimes I don't want to claim it as lonely, but it sure as hell feels like that. And I just have to go inside of the I am that I am and realize I'm never lonely. It's just the perspective of like you were saying earlier on. It's that part of that itty bitty thing.
Right, 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 right.
Know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's that.
Well, yeah, because we think it's healthy skepticism, and yet is it? Um, Part of that being that we're willing to question our own truth, to put it on the chopping block and whack away at it if we need to. Right.
Indeed.
Sometimes even if we don't want to, we're forced to because there's some things missing. Things aren't quite falling into place like we feel they ought to based on our own activity and behavior and processing and strategy and all of those kinds of things. It happens in the business world just the same, right?
Indeed.
There's a little more process to that process definition,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you've got the work breakdown structures, you've got the hard skills, the soft skills, and all of those kinds of things that, and timelines and schedules and you know, all of those things, the black ink and the red ink and the bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, and to most of those kinds of very analytical, detailed driven, result driven, there's not a whole lot of experience of that other side. And yet, I just, one of the guys who just wrote a review came out of that world. He was a business consultant for 40 years, tied up into that. And he says, once I had to read the book twice. So the first time through, his inner cynic was having at it, right? And then he thought, wait a minute, because his other side, he realizes now, does understand the concept of oneness and what that and the spirituality and connectivity and all that kind of stuff. So he said, second time through, it's like, wow, he got it,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And so, and he encouraged others, like, if you're thinking this way, read this because it's still gonna, it'll make you think and probably change your heart just a little bit,
Indeed.
which is the objective,
Yeah.
right? We have this one world, and it's in a new world now, especially after COVID. We're making different choices, and we
Which
have,
was a great thing, which was a
yeah.
wonderful thing. The universe, mother knows what's going on. The universe is to had to purge, had to do what it had to do in order to get this thing back to its balance. Because beyond popular demand or belief, the universe is not going anywhere. Like this, it's going to be what it's going to be, and it's going to control and protect this planet as the chosen ones have stepped up. We're required to step up. You know what I'm saying?
Well, we're part of mom,
Yeah,
right?
indeed, indeed,
Every cell in our body comes from Mother Earth
indeed, indeed,
in
and
some way, shape, or form,
we're responsible
right?
to.
Do
Yeah.
we understand the depth of that connection, not just to the planet, to its consciousness?
Well, those of us that do, we have to do what we're doing right now because this energy is what's going to create the mastermind to make that fact. Because some of us do overstand. We overstand, and we're like we said, like told you, like you told me as well. We can't talk to everybody, man. You know what I'm saying? Some people are so far gone. You look normal, you look healthy, you look wealthy in spirit, but you crazy as hell if you say something out of line. And a person, in certain fields of
Oh, dealt with that with years. That 45 years. I was even institutionalized at 19 because of a spiritual awakening I had at 18. I couldn't keep my mouth shut about. Right? I got beat up at a frat house, ended up in the hospital. My parents decided, no, you need to take a break. And I was in pre-med program at the time. And brilliant, tested out of 4 or 5 quarters going in. And yet in this being adopted, right, they still were not able to truly understand me. Number one, because they weren't listening to me to try and help me to figure out. And I did the doc in the hospital. The previous one that I saw the year before said, yep, you've had a spiritual awakening. You got all the signs. Don't know why so young. My advice to you, keep your mouth shut.
yeah.
People aren't going
Why
to
is that?
understand you, right? Did I
They
listen? No.
you're not. It's not. It wasn't in your DNA when you chose and you
No,
called.
I was a teenager. How did, teenagers listen? Yeah, and when?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and yet, after that happened, the doc in the hospital labeled me a manic depressive paranoid schizophrenic and put me on 2,000 micrograms of Thorazine a day.
Man,
Should have been a lump in a corner,
yeah.
according to their view of things, right? If it affected what they saw being wrong with me, I should have been a lump in a corner. I wasn't. I was up playing ping pong, beating the male nurses.
Yeah, because come on, your power is way above
I
anything that.
didn't know any better.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? I was just being me, whatever
Well,
it
that's
was.
that innate knowing. That's the innate knowing that got you here because this is the story that you had to live out to tell. because you couldn't tell it unless you lived it out. That's what I had to come to terms with. Some of the stuff that I've gone through is some stuff I only talk to certain groups about because it's
Right. Well, they put you in a corner sometimes. If I had told people, yeah, I was institutionalized, the very first thing they're going to do is, oh, I'm in that box now.
yeah, well, put me there. I don't care. Where I'm at is so higher. Yeah, but you're right though. In the society that we're in, and the vibration that they're perpetuating, that they want to keep higher than what is true. You're right. They want to make it, but they're having a hard time now because even the youth are like to the elders that are acting like they don't know. I can bring some youth to the table now that will cut your head slap off and be able to show you where you standing in darkness and why would I even think about paying energy to you when you're
Right.
standing in darkness and we were created, from darkness but the
Now, do
light.
you find there's a different the different conversation? It's like a logic path, right? Or a logic train that you got all the cars lined up and you're missing a caboose,
Mhm,
right? And that other person's the caboose.
mhm,
And then you gently kind of back into it and begin to pull it forward once you're coupled and it's dragging, right? It's still got the brakes on. And yet by how you speak with them, usually asking them questions instead of telling them things,
mhm,
because you know where you want to take them. It's just the questions that you had to ask in order to get there. Now you're sharing with them.
mhm, mhm. I have a technique as well. I do that same thing. Just to add to it, I actually put myself in the position so that it's not, if I'm having to say most of the things that I'm talking about, I went through. So I'm telling it from the perspective of how this happened to me. And it could happen to you, but I don't say it could. I just give the
Right.
analogy of how it happened to me because that analogy is going to already open up the vibration for you to realize, oh shit, that could happen to me. Yeah,
Right.
no kidding.
Oh,
Because
yeah, because and do you find that invariably people will compare and contrast themselves with others no matter what?
yeah, yeah. And it's just the energy, man. It's the opposing, challenging energy that they're dealing with inside of themselves. And so contrast is a must in their experience. It seems like that's all they that's all they're working for. That's all it seemed like those that are in that field of energy are, seeking, because no matter what conversation you get in, no matter what proof you have, no matter what level of intelligence you bring to the table with those type, it's just like that energy is a field. And fields of energy just jump throughout people who are inconsistent with controlling their own. So I learned the energy, man. I learned the energy and I don't,
Well, and now we've got quantum physics, right? They're saying, oh yeah, everything's energy. I got some egg on my face. I was interviewing Dr. Irvin Laszlo this 3 years ago now. He was 90 at the time. And I said, thinking I'm smart, right? In quantum physics, they're saying we got 99% space and 1% material. And he pipes up and he says, I would say we're 100% energy. Now, here's the grandfather of quantum systems thinking telling me this, right? And I'm trying, it's like, oh, back again to being that young kid talking to an elder thinking he knows shit, right?
Mhm,
Turns out, yeah, you know stuff, but yeah, not quite, right?
mhm,
And that was a wonder because it was a wonderful experience because I don't take myself seriously. I'm willing to be wrong in a question, but in order to do so, I got to share what I think I know and
Indeed.
then be open to that questioning. And then his response was that, which resonated so deeply in my being that there was no denial there. And
No question at that point, right?
no,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
not at all.
right.
And he spent his life trying to share that. He was a piano prodigy from Hungary originally, and he
Is that
traveled
the
the
one
world.
you interviewed? Did you interview him on one of your podcasts?
Yeah, it's the shortest one because he didn't
I
have
saw
much
that.
time. He's 90. He didn't have
I
that much
saw that.
energy, right? He can only
Yeah,
do things in snippets. But and
good
yet,
he shared the space with you. Good he shared that with you.
oh, I that's that's a benchmark in life, right?
Mm.
To have a conversation with someone like that.
Yeah, you're connected forever. That was an agreement. You guys
Yeah.
agreed for me. In my perspective, you guys agreed before we ever came into
Oh,
consciousness.
and his son Alexander has got runs an institute in Brazil. Wrote a absolutely wonderful review of my book for Amazon.
Okay.
Um, so, and he's on our board. So
Oh,
these, kind of these things trickle through, and that. So I met his dad 3 years ago, and then last year
yeah,
connected
that's that
with Alexander and interviewed him, and then with Planetary Citizens, it was like, well, okay, why not ask? And he jumped. He said, "Yeah, I love
trans
what you're doing. I'm
yeah.
there."
It's
Right?
transformations. Transform you're hey, it's in the process, man. And when it's written, it's well, it's when it's scribed, it's already there. It's already there. Like this, we just have to walk through the process or feel our way through the process.
Yeah. Now, here's where we're at, right? Walking and feeling.
Mhm.
How do we do that? What's the process like? And how do we share those breadcrumbs with others so that they're less intimidated as they're learning how to let go of their own fear?
Well, like I said before, the only thing that I could say in my own defense of things would be that my action speaks. I walk in the spirit of things. I walk in forgiveness. I walk in love, knowing that it's me that I'm having to do these things for. And when I came to terms with it's me, like you're me, with projections, everybody's me. I
I
cannot
am you and you are me, and we are all together. Cuckoo, cachoo.
indeed, and I can't have any, you know, I would be less compassionate if I hated myself because I can't project any positive, loving energy, hating or denying myself the love that I know that I'm able to project. So I'm
There's that self-love feature that has to be in place. That's the first place.
Mhm.
We often put it last.
And it's not selfish to be that way. Some people feel
No,
selfish. I've had to help people out of that syndrome of, thinking it's selfish. No, how can you assist anything or anyone without assisting yourself first? Like, there's no love going to be received from anyone that does not love themselves. They
it
think
doesn't mean you can't do it. It's just
it's
way
self-esteem.
diminished because it's not full force because you aren't.
The balance is off. Like,
Yeah.
right. I just, like I said, the only way is the example for me. I have enough people around me or have had enough experiences for the last 20 plus years. My oldest child is in the house with me to be on point, like in everything they pay attention to. And because I gave them the freedom to question me about things. And if you ever decide you want to try anything, come to me first because I've been on the streets. I know what this is about.
Yeah.
You're gonna
Want
do
to
it.
try it? Do it here at home.
Yeah, you're gonna do it anyway. You're gonna do it anyway, and I want to give you access, and then it'll be best. This is the example that my father gave me. He said, "Look, do anything you want to do with me first, so that I can see how you're gonna respond. Because if you do it with your little friends and they panic, knowing you're not supposed to be doing it in the first place, they might leave you for dead somewhere. So just come to me, son." So that's how I even learned about cannabis
Oh, and
being.
the kids will take you some places you weren't necessarily
Yeah,
thinking
yeah,
you wanted to go to,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
My
yeah.
oldest daughter did that to me one time. She was a teenager, came to live with me for a year, and man, she just, walk up to
Wow,
dad and say, "Hey, Daddy, would you?" And she sticks out her tongue and she's got to hit a blotter on it.
wow.
And so I'm like, okay, right? Because I'd been there, done that. I mean, I was so into psychedelics as a
Everything, yeah,
teen and in my college years, and
yeah.
found great honor, relief, doors opening,
Yeah, we
the
were looking
experience
for,
with it that nobody else could tell you. And yet here I was facing, oh, here's my daughter, this, what am I going to do? And I know if I do and I talk about it, I'm going to get a lot of grief
why you feel that? Why you feel that?
because of the societal norms, and you
Oh, okay.
just don't do that with your children,
Well,
right?
I got
No
past
matter if
that.
they ask you to or
I,
not.
I respect
And
that.
I feel the opposite. If they're coming to me in their trust and
Love.
willingness to be open and transparent with me, then
That's a higher power than everything, man.
yeah, I
It's
really
no
have no
law.
other choice than to participate with them because they're going to do it anyway.
It's gonna do it anyway, bro. Like that's how are we gonna get past that and you didn't, like, go ahead and do it then. Okay, really? Like, no, no, no.
And then to be with them in that experience and have a reference point of balance, safety, security, it gives them that extra sense of love in the process, even though
Yeah,
they may not be
because
aware of it, but
yeah,
they're honored
yeah,
in that.
yeah, it's a trust factor. I know my dad, that was one of the things that, because first of all, he saw some of my friends smoking cigarettes. And my friends, all my friends were older than me. I never, if I'm 12, I had
I'm the
15, 16.
same way.
Yeah,
You
always
know, all
older.
my friends were a decade or so older.
Yeah, that's here we are. Like that's what pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
They say that
Well, I
elder
fit that bill with you too now. Right?
exactly, exactly. It's the we our souls are just, elevated, and we have recognized
I'm
each
10
other.
years older than my wife,
Yeah.
and that was perfect for her too.
Yeah, I'm 8 years older than mine. 8 years older than mine. We have 8 sons. It's so many numbers that line up with our, both of us were born on the 28th. That's the number of wealth, and we are really like have gone through some riches, but we have awakened to wealth now because the spiritual part of us is, connected. I mean, I see a goddess every time I open my eyes, every time and I mean, I'm saying, bro, like I woke up, my woman is beautiful to me. She's always been. That's why we got all these babies. You know what I'm saying? But at the
You
same time,
bet.
yeah, at the same time, I just feel we've raised our vibration so high. I can see the love in her spirit now. I mean, I did before we first, like I did that initially to start with. That's how we knew that we were supposed to be together. But I'm saying, as we've grown through these things and grown spiritually, say, elevated throughout this space, sharing space together, and really, really accepting the being responsible for us as creation, because that was a get out the way thing. Okay, no, these things just happen. This is what, no, ain't shit just happening. Nothing is just happening. Everything is happening by way of creation of your thoughts, my thoughts, even past life thoughts, stuff that I need to clean up. It's still
Right.
mine. It's still mine. And so I just, like I said, I'm constantly open to new, well, or I have active ways, so I don't really have to study too many ways, but anything that comes to me that vibrates to me to a higher vibration of things, that gets the frequency, the vibration, and the energy up, that's what I'm about, because it's most times love attached to that. It has to be some type of, like
Mhm.
positive energy field attached to that. So that's my main
And
thing.
you and I feel it as we be it, we feel it, we sense it everywhere we go, and we turn heads of those who sense it too.
Indeed,
We
man.
walk into rooms and uh, even as a kid,
Oh
this
yeah.
I first found my first experience of telepathy. Right, I was 5 years old, walking into the back of church with my parents. Of course, everybody's in the pews facing forward, right? And I
Mhm.
walk in the room, and I know I don't speak it because I know better, but
Mhm.
I send it out. Hey, everybody, hi. And as I'm looking down the road that we were just, there were at least a dozen heads turned around looking at me. And I'm like, oh,
They heard you. Yeah, they heard you. That's good. I do that all the
yeah.
time
And
with
as a
my children.
5-year-old, it's like, what do you do with that? It's just a cool experience.
It's
You just, oh,
natural.
that's
It's
cool. And you
natural.
go
You
on.
don't we don't really do nothing. It's natural because that's a part of how we were made until they stripped, till they did something to kind of dim that light. Because the power that you have, like you just didn't go far away from your light because you were able to tap back
I've
in.
been very fortunate.
Yeah, very fortunate, man. Very fortunate. You know what I'm saying? That's a confirming thing for me is my gut and chills. That's what the ancestors, the ancients, the guides have given me. Like I can be in a conversation and someone can be talking about whatever they're talking about, and I get certain feelings. My gut tells me one thing and my chills tell me something else. And they tell me in real time. And it's been like more elevated, even more elevated the more I have taken the responsibility for me being responsibility for everything that's taken place, not partially, not, man, if you wouldn't have did that, this wouldn't happen. No. If I wouldn't have put it out there like that, you wouldn't have had the ability to do it. I wouldn't have summoned it that way. It would have never. So I take response. I am responsible for 100,000% of everything that goes on in my experience. And that's the way I live. I actually I influence, I inspire, and the action to take is take responsibility. That's what you
Sure.
do.
It's a choice,
Yeah, it is.
right? It's that free will. You can either take responsibility for yourself or you can make excuses and experience life in a different way
In the
and
lowest
be
vibration. Yeah,
unhappy,
indeed.
distraught, all those lower energy negative emotions, not necessarily negative, but as we
The,
see
the
them,
other
right?
the other side of the emotions that most people don't resonate with in clarity. So,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
know we
You
know.
have them for a reason, and that reason is to help you get
I
past them.
I harness, man. I've learned in the last 6 months, especially, okay, a couple of months after my mother transitioned.
Hmm.
Look, man, don't everything is got to happen. When the low vibrational things show up, embrace that so that you can really receive the pendulum, the opposite side, because whatever it is,
All part of the one.
here we go. The laws, bro. Like that's what it is, and that's what it is spiritually. If you never read that, before I read the law of one, before I got involved at all, I knew that. And it's like I'm reading, it's like, wow, I knew this, I knew this. It's
Yeah.
like, you get
LL research. I remember that. I got that like in 1988. Somebody gave me a spiral ring bound, um, mimeographed or copied book of it. And,
that's
it's
cool.
like, okay, service to self or service to others. And that's the pendulum, right? Well, wait a minute. Where's the midpoint in that? The ultimate service to self is service to others.
It is. That's the
That's
balance.
where that bridge happens.
That's where the balance is. That's where the balance is. You stay right there. The negative will never affect you because the positive is always present. It is always present, but you're conscious of it when it goes negative. But it's
Well,
still.
sure. And those oftentimes, what do you think that perspective comes from?
I think that comes from the calling or the intention or will to elevate, because we pull these experiences in to actually elevate. It's nothing that I've ever experienced. The worst things that I thought were the worst things ended up being the best things. So now in my experience, I really have triggers to when something comes in low vibrational. I don't wait. I don't have to wait the year and a half to find out, oh man, that's why
Yeah,
that
where's
happened.
the learning curve here?
Yeah, I
Right?
stopped right then and I got these techniques take me 3 minutes to do. Go through my gratitude session of me being realized, oh man, I'm grateful. I'm conscious of this. I realize this is some crap right here. Let me go ahead and decide how I want this to turn out. And I pick 3 ways. And when I embed those 3 ways, even if I forget one, naturally, conscious, subconsciously,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get one of my
You got to
three.
remember one of them.
Yeah, one of them was the source gave them to me. I don't have to remember them. All I got to do is say them. All I got to do is affirm them. You know what I'm saying? But I have
Right.
to do it in the space of where that low vibrational experience is happening, so I can have the control over it. Because it's really control. Either I can say, "Oh man, what the going on," and then I can go ahead and float into that. And maybe someone's feelings, emotions, it's going to be a lot of extra baggage to go with that. And because I don't do baggage like that, I got enough.
Oh, there's not even any carry-ons on this flight, bro.
Thank you, thank you. I'm with you. We solo dolo.
Although we try to bring them on all the time.
Indeed, man. So yeah, I feel like we resonate on the highest level with most of the things that we've experienced, and the things that we see differently, we see the same.
And as we ought to, being in that place of seeing things as one and having the perspective to step back and honor the spectrum
Mm,
within it.
indeed, indeed. And I honor and I'm grateful and appreciative in the fullest way for the spectrum, for us to have the space to share and to be, to elevate
And
and
in this world, we'd be seen as being on the spectrum.
oh yeah, yeah, no doubt, no doubt. We still in it. We still seem to be on the spectrum. It's all good, but hey, if that's what it does, hey, if it takes me to be on the spectrum to keep some of these low vibrational, wicked, low things away, I'm good. Put me
Sure.
on the spectrum, I'm good because your spectrum don't matter to me anyway. Like it never could.
Well, we're all neurodiverse in some aspect, right? And how about being neuronatural? What is that? What's the natural things within us that need to evolve and become so that we become what
Yeah,
we're designed to be?
Right. The ability to just be free and think not about the feelings of others and how it it appears to others. Like just be free, unapologetic. Like I said, I have unlimited, unconditional, unapologetic love to give. So that means it may hurt. It will heal. It may make you feel giddy, giddy, giddy. It may make you feel your emotions of some kind of way. I'm
Right.
not utilizing mine to kill, to excuse me, not take that away, to unalive, period. But I know it brings life. And I know that when I do use words of low vibration, I am unaliving the energy that is present to build. And I'm not interested in that. You know what I'm saying? But I
Hmm.
know that it exists and I'm present when I have to be present. I know that it's not like I can go and have a dark experience and attempt to stay in the lit part when I know I have to come out of it by being in that space, accepting, confirming to, and identifying and resolving because it's a wrap
Right.
once you just come to terms with it. I mean,
Right.
the hardest things come. I'm done. I'm finished. I'm mad. I'm done. Hey, then the light comes on.
So let's take let's bring that into a practical and pragmatic sense, right?
Mhm,
Because you got skill sets,
mhm, mhm,
right? When you first start to open up and have the experiences, and especially now with a lot of folks that are, let's say, being reawakened
mhm.
um, in this new normal and trying to attempting to find their place, right? Is there, first of all, a natural order within our uniqueness that utilizes the skill sets that we've developed, not necessarily putting them in the same environment that they have been used in prior, often used and abused, right? Because we're looked at as just tools, not people in the old corporate strategy and
Yeah, I
structure.
know the
So
whole
in
thing.
the new, though, we're people first,
Mhm,
profit second.
mhm, mhm.
So how does this natural inclination that we all have evolve to the point of being able to look at oneself and say, okay, here's my skill set. Maybe I'm answering questions just in thinking it through, right? So we've got this skill set, we've got this attitude, we've got an aptitude. How do we find a place to apply it? What do you think the process is in that?
Well, I think the process first is, back to self-love and finding yourself because this is just a personal perspective from my own knowing.
Hmm.
When I awakened, when I became awakened, I know it's levels and I'm still awakening, but it's a level of awakening you get to that you come to terms with, like I said, that you are the responsible field of energy for everything that's going on in the 3D realm. And you have access in the higher realm to actually manipulate it by via your thought process and your energy
Hmm.
attached to it. So I feel like all of us, we
Like a
are
3D printer.
we are indeed the one with the source, and we can actually all have access to obtaining. But I think it's the part and the process of not only realizing but accepting and you know taking responsibility for that and doing it. Like you'll allow, if you take responsibility for you being the I am, you don't have to worry about the what you're supposed to do because it comes natural. Things
Right. The being comes first, the doing it just
is a
it's
natural
laid out
process.
in front of you.
Yeah, it comes with it. It's
Yeah.
like the diagram you get after you pass the test.
Right.
You get the diagram, you get the blueprint, and it's a blueprint that you still have to study and utilize because there's so many different objectives to utilize it. It's so many
Mhm.
avenues to get to it. And that's another thing in the last few weeks, I say I've been really, really coming into contact with groups that, a lot of them are doing these spiritual, and, a lot of spiritual, and they're making it seem like a chore, like the religion was. And I'm like, get off of that. Allow it to be. Like nothing is right, nothing is wrong. Everything is
Oh,
a
we
gift.
know there's got to be a discipline though,
Yeah,
right? But
yeah,
we
yeah.
think we
Discipline.
take that discipline to the nth degree and with the prescriptive steps that you've got to go through or you're not going to experience this. Instead of saying, okay, here's the process, you figure out the steps.
Because you don't have to go through. For me, I realized some of the things that I put myself through, I didn't have to go through to get the experience. I didn't have to get I could have got the wisdom if I would have listened sooner because
Oh, there's a biggie.
yeah, when I went through it, it was after I didn't listen. And when I went through it, I realized it was already given to me to get through it without going through anything, but I didn't listen. So
Well, it's
it's
like second guessing yourself, right? Your first impression is usually correct, and
always.
yet we second guess ourselves. So that second guess is like, okay, you really need to experience that? Okay.
My first mind has never been wrong. I tested, and
Well,
everybody like,
yeah, it never is.
yeah, because it's source to me.
However, it happens in such oftentimes, I can't say it happens always this way.
Mhm.
Most of the time, it's so subtle, it's almost imperceptible.
Well, that's the key. That is the key. Just like the switch of going through something when a negative thing comes up, that is your portal to make good things happen. Because that's what it is. I realize the faster you're able to transmute the idea of something being low vibrational and form it into high vibrational, because everything is really whatever way you perceive it. It comes in and it goes out. So when it comes in, it's up to you to, put the seasoning on it and cook it and heat it up and fix it or whatever. How you're going to serve it is how it's going to be. So when it comes in, I just realized that I'm the deciding factor and I'm not going to let certain things come in and distort things to come out a certain way. I got a way of putting the block down when I see it, I feel it. Now it's just things. And like I say, it comes with you being consistent and knowing that you are responsible. You are the creation in your experience. It's not coming from the outside. It's
No
not
matter
outside.
how much you want to deny or excuse yourself,
No matter
right?
how much, indeed,
You know,
brother.
here's the interesting. So I got to share this with this because I think you'll love it. Um, in my second degree, there was a study group that put together a presentation on challenge to change. And they brought out that the LLE in challenge, you take it out and you've got change automatically.
Mhm,
They didn't have anything, words to go with that. And
mhm.
so me and my own, I haven't grown up. So I blurted out liabilities, limitations, and excuses, right? And everybody would, this is adults in the working world, most of them corporate, right? And they're like, whoa, that's, you know, so 10 years later, I had the opportunity to use that to do a conference around it. It was called The Shift, Challenge to Change, Removing Liabilities, Limitations, and Excuses in the Workplace.
Oh,
And
nice.
it was phenomenal. It was for what is now,
When did you do that?
did it here in Phoenix for the Valley of the Sun chapter of what's now called the Association for Talent Development. They're in 148 countries, international corporate training um, support organization. So
How
these
long ago?
2010.
You should probably do that
Uh,
again.
so it was kind of a combination of what I'd been hearing and what I saw being necessary, and it just fell into place.
Yeah, you
And
don't think you should do it again?
I would love to. Again, I've been a Manhattan for years because I refuse to go into situations that would inhibit my integrity in any
I,
way.
I understand that.
And so I've been a lone wolf, feeding the love wolf, not the hate one,
Mm.
and being able to craft some things on my own, many happen, figuring out how to do stuff that way.
Doing a
I
good
couldn't be
job.
bullshitted.
Hmm.
And then now meeting guys like you, right? This is where I, my vision that I was given as a teenager and told that these points of light will show up and they're who I'm to work with in order to facilitate harmony among people on the planet,
Same message, bro.
right?
Same message.
So
That's
yeah, you mentioned it earlier. So this is where we have that ultimate congruence and two or more are gathered, and there I am also,
hmm
right?
Indeed, indeed.
And we're in total agreement on that. So where do we go? How can we be? How can we play together? And these aren't questions just for you. These are rhetorical questions for our audience as well,
Indeed.
right? How can you be more of you, learn how to play better, and have that abundance show up in your own life in greater fashion so that it's unquestionable?
Show up. Just show up authentic. Show up and be authentic. Because once you, like I said, because we are like once you become, the deciding factor of your experience, once you realize and take responsibility truly in your soul's knowing, in your heart of
Right.
hearts, and once you
Right.
do that, it's a wrap. It's like nothing else can really penetrate that for me anyway, because I'm constantly building my heart muscle up for that. That's what the whole for as I prepare for the transition, as I prepare my higher elevation to the higher perspective. That's my main thing, is to make sure that I am elevating that space. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, it's like, we condense into form, then we got to go back home.
indeed.
Thing
So
is, we never lose sight of home in that incarnation. We just forget.
we just forget. And I feel that the more we do each time, and if it's even the next time, we actually get the opportunity to, have access to more, because this life
Speaking of
experience.
access to more, evidently we are a special planet because we've got the attention of the universe with all these different races that are showing up and their ships, sometimes seen, sometimes not. All the contactee experiences, the messages that are being
I had
given,
I,
which basically you guys need to learn to get along, then we can help.
yeah,
Till you unify,
only
there's
when.
nothing we can do.
Look at that, only win, and then okay, you don't want to act right. We'll just go ahead and move you ones out the way, the energy ones. Okay, we'll present these different things so that the ones that are not supposed to be here, you'll go away in the name of that. But the higher learning, the higher knowledge, wisdom of that is, the purge is amongst us, and it's
Well, and
still.
it's a matter of attention, right? Where we put our attention, intention, and interaction towards grows. And if,
Indeed.
like Socrates said, a couple of things. First of all, the Socratic method is what we were talking about earlier, the questions.
Mhm.
And then he says, Buckminster Fuller, I think, is given credit for it, but Socrates said, don't fight the model, build a better one.
Indeed. That's it. That's it. That's it. And that's what
Again, that's the epitome of the energy exchange, right? Whatever you fight, whatever you give your energy to will persist.
it does.
If you want to fight, that's going to persist.
Indeed.
That's happening right now. A lot of people getting upset in the States. Oh my gosh, everything's going is so tumultuous now. We don't know where it's going to go, what's going to happen. And
Mhm.
yet it all seems to be headed in a much better direction.
Well, for those of us who can see, for those of us who have been, fortunate enough to tap into the detail of what Mother and Source and the divine is having to happen in this experience, and we'll do. I mean, we're here to do what we're supposed to do. And
Well,
when you
it's the marriage of heaven and earth, isn't it?
yeah.
Right? We're doing the rehearsal. Right.
Yeah, that's deep. Yeah, it's for sure, man. It is deep. And this is an easy process when you take responsibility. Like I don't see
That's the
anything
key. You
hard
got to
about it.
take responsibility.
Yeah. And that's what we're doing. And you asked earlier what I feel like we could do. We did hit on that a little bit, but I know that us being here has already raised the vibration to anyone who sees this is going to be effective vibrationally in love and peace and power.
Even if they don't, it ripples still. Remember, it's all
Well,
energy.
yeah, well, I don't, I feel you. I'm not objective to, but even if they don't, they do.
Yeah.
It's subjective to. They
It,
have to.
it either happens at a trickle or a torrent, depending.
Indeed, indeed, and we can create the tsunami for it to happen.
And as we grow, we will. That wave of change is happening.
Indeed.
We're getting close. I want to dive in a little deeper for just a moment. And what, if you could, advice, right? Because we're always looking for it. What pearl of wisdom or advice can you make really practical for a person to help develop that daily discipline?
Well, um, it still goes back to that self thing, man. And I'm gonna just get more detail with it in the sense of once you do take responsibility for you and everything that's going on, and literally take responsibility for it, high or low, it raises the vibration for you to receive, downloads, information, entities, everything that will give you the energy to move forward to see, how to be consistent. Because it's not, I don't necessarily say it's a plan you can follow, because I've done courses, I ran past courses. You elevate past certain things, and it becomes something that comes within your innate DNA that you begin to do that may not even be a scheduled system that someone else does. But the thing is to find the connection, and when you're connected. You'll know when you're connected. There's no question about knowing that. You can play with it, these funny feelings you think you're having and all of that. Quit playing with yourself if you don't know. If you're going through a lot of things and you don't know why, it's because you're not taking responsibility for the fact that you're chosen to go through these things, to elevate from this, to be able to give some kind of sense to the issues of the ones who
Mhm.
are more going through it. So it's just like our
And you
process.
can find guys like me that, Be the Dream, my business name, BeTheDream.com, I've had for a couple of decades.
Mm.
I'm like an integral guide in these processes because I've gone through enough of them myself,
Yeah, indeed.
and can show the way, or help hold your hand through it.
And
Anyway,
that's what we do. Just act it out, walk it out. And I have, I talk to a lot of people. I do a lot of different modalities, but the most thing is the heart-centered love connection, because it all comes back to that. We can call it past life regression, we can call it sound therapy, we can call it Reiki, we can call it whatever you want to call it. It's still
but you
going
doesn't have to call me Johnson.
to indeed, right? It's just going to get to the simple fact of the loves is going to override, because at the course of it, we're going to decide what is really the core, connection that needs to be felt in order to get to the next part.
Absolutely.
Vibration. So
Absolutely. Malik, my brother from mother. You used to be, my brother from another mother. No, it actually makes more sense, my brother from mother.
yeah, indeed. That's what and listen, you just confirm chills. Chills, bro. Like because I that's something that I've been really saying to the ones that I know are like, because it's the mother of this whole situation. And we have to go ahead, and it will be best if the faster we come to terms with, we'll be all right. Everything is all right now, but the
We have enough
collective.
time for everything. However, it'll happen sooner if we can get our act together better.
Oh yeah, yeah. We can share the space and make it expand better in in our favor, definitely by what we're doing. And
Absolutely.
I'm on board with you 100,000%, brother. Like
And we'll find out where that goes soon.
you already know.
Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much
Oh,
for
you're
having me.
welcome.
Peace, love, and prosperity.
Namaste and in catch. And thanks for sticking with us for this episode of One World in a New World. I said it before, I'll say it again. Like, subscribe, comment, share. It's the way that we can connect further with you and with others that you love too. Thanks for being with us. I'm Zen Benefiel, your host for One World in the New World, and I'll see you next time.